Start that recording now. My name is Ken Konovnik. I'm the Deputy Administrator at LTAC, and I've now taken on the responsibilities for the Children Pedestrian Safety Program from Amanda Lamott. I've got some great news for all the 2022 applicants, and we'll go over some of the details on how to get everyone their funding expediently and even take care of some bid overages in the program. What I'll go ahead and do is I've got probably 3 sections of information, and I'll pause in a couple locations for questions. At that time, people can unmute themselves and okay. So today our topics, we're going to go over those unfunded applications. We've used the term funding down the list, and I've got a list of those eligible projects. We're going to talk about the 2023 construction contingency funds that the LTAC Council approved. In a couple of the past LTAC Council meetings, some of the difficulties for high bids in several programs has been discussed. I'll go over the documentation and agreement addendum for that. We're going to update our project check-in process, go over some program timeline.
You've muted.
Muted.
All the 2022 unfunded applications are going to be funded at their request. We had 2 partially funded, Valley County and the City of Albion. Those projects will be funded for the full.
Muted Ken for a second there.
Yeah. For the full amount that they had requested. List of those jurisdictions are up on the screen. If you're listed up there, there'll be a section on how to execute that agreement and get that done quickly. And those will be emailed out in the next couple of days to the email on the application that we received. And they're relatively simple to take forward to your commissioners or council, send back to LTAC. And then when we execute that agreement, we send you the check. So the great news for everybody, with that being recognized that if we funded down the list, there would still be some leftover funds. The LTAC Council approved using up to 2.5 million. That's what about that balance would be after funding everybody to cover high bids to mitigate inflation. This money is going to be first come, first serve. There wouldn't be enough to cover everyone if there was a high bid. So it is going to be a little bit of incentive to get your projects out to bid as fast as possible. The funds will not cover an increase of scope on the project. This is a question I've already gotten over the phone. I've been asked, oh, can I add some extra ramps? Can I add an extra crossing? Answers no. In the agreement addendum that I'll go over, it does mention that this is for your original project or a reduced scope of that original project. And there'll be a cap of $50,000 per project. So let's go over how do you get that money. So the simple requirements we have is the applicant must have bid their project. And then with the agreement addendum, you'll include a summary of the bid results and the engineer's estimate. That's important because if you're going out to bid with an engineer's estimate of $350,000, obviously you didn't scale your project back to the limits, and we may have to look individually on how you could get some coverage on those funds. So for example, let's say you stayed within the original scope, the engineer's estimate was 350, you went out to bid and your bids are 350. That case, your bid didn't come in high, your estimate did. And so we'd probably look at, was the project scalable or not, something like that to cover those expenses. I'll have a project template agreement for that addendum on our LTAC website, and I've got a quick walkthrough on that. First, yeah, so we'll get the steps and then I'll have the visuals. So on the agreement, there'll be some sections in red that the local sponsor fills out. They'll complete that bidding summary. You'll email it to me for review. Then I'll take a look, see if everything's correct. And then I'll let you know that it's either ready for signature, or I'll give you corrections or additions as needed. Return the signed agreement to me, and then I'll get it processed. And when your agreement's executed, just as with your original check, we'll send that additional check to cover those overages. So on our website, I've got this green arrow, the Children Pedestrian website. That link will be right there. I know the font's small on the screenshot, but it was just kind of give an example where that's located on our website. It's a relatively simple agreement addendum, just a couple paragraphs, and then everything in red is what the local sponsor fills out. The second page, that's that bidding summary, and it just asks you to prepare that summary with that information, and that's what you will send back to me at LTAC. So at this point, I'll take any questions on those construction contingency funds to cover high bids. And go ahead and unmute yourself if you have any questions.
What if the city has added funds to the project and the bid's still over?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So in that case, if you guys go over, you add your own funds, and you demonstrated that, then which you would have had to go to bid anyways, then we would help out with those construction contingency funds for bids above that amount as well. It's all would be kind of looking at making sure that you didn't increase the scope of your project. We just didn't want this to look like, and it's an opportunity for any local jurisdiction to do extra, because that money is available.
Yes, I have a question. Since we turned it in 2022, we did some projects around the area that kind of overlapped in some of the walkway areas. And so basically we did some roads and did some ADA walkways tying in to where some of the sidewalks are going to be. Can we modify our plan some on that? Is that okay?
So would you modify it to just change maybe the location of some of the same infrastructure? So instead of doing sidewalk on one block, you'd be doing it on another, equal quantity?
Yeah, what I would do is take that area out where we fixed it and just modify it, for that particular scenario now. Is that acceptable?
And so just a question. So you're a jurisdiction that applied in 22 and did not get funding?
Correct.
And so with this new funding, you would just modify the scope of your project a little bit?
Correct. I have like 3 areas where we paved or we put sidewalks in already or something like that.
Yes.
Just so it just flows together is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, that would be perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you.
I guess that's something that we're, and when I get into the next section, there'll be some areas to provide that kind of information to LTAC. I'm going to go over our project check-ins and survey, because that's one thing that, as going down this list, it's going to be a little bit different. We told people they weren't getting money. We don't know what those 36 jurisdictions did. They may have gone and built their project completely on their own. And so I think there will be a big difference between a modified scope versus trying to do a completely different project. And those would be taken on a case-by-case basis. I think we'd have to review.
I've got a question. This is Micah Austin with the City of Ammon.
Yes.
We bid our project out over the winter time, and the bids came in above our budget. So the council rejected all bids, and we're in the process of rebidding it in hopes that it'll come in within our budget. My question is, I assume we will have to use current bids that have not been rejected, correct? Or could I use those older bids that have already been rejected over the winter time?
So it would want to be the bids that where you're actually going to accept, because let's say, for example, you use those old bids. We sent you a check for $50,000. I'm just making assumptions. And then you go and these new bids are, you don't need the money at all. Then we'd be in the situation where you'd have to return funds. So we would want that to be the bids where one of those bids is going to be the bid that you accept.
Okay, thank you. I thought that was the case. So we'll go ahead and proceed with rebidding the project and fill out the form. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great clarity. Maybe I'll probably put that in that bidding summary in parentheses. I'll add that says indicate which bid you accepted, because it could have a low bid on there that's maybe under that project amount, but it was rejected because it wasn't a complete bid or for other reasons. So I think I'll add that for clarity, that the locale is to indicate which bid is going to be the accepted bid.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Delta, you had a question?
Thank you so much. Good morning, Ken. This is Delta James at the City of McCall. My question is regarding just sort of the process of the project. We have gone to bid for our project. The child pedestrian safety project was wrapped into kind of a larger project that included road reconstruction and things like that. So I'm just assuming, I want to confirm that the way we could demonstrate that the bid results were in excess of our engineer's estimate for the project at the time of grant application would be to have our engineer extract those bid elements that are associated with the project scope.
Yes.
And provide you also with the full bid results, even though they are for a much larger project.
Yes. And you could, in that bidding summary in there, you could put that information or even make an extra attachment, however you would want to document that. Probably a good idea for me to add another bullet on that bidding summary, to include any other pertinent information to demonstrate the need for that funding.
Okay, will do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm sure there's others in that same situation too. Any other questions on this information? I wanted to wait until the midpoint to make sure everybody was admitted in here, but I am going to ask everybody to do a favor for me, and please type your jurisdiction that you represent in the chat box. When I look at the participants, that's just going to make it way easier for me to match up which jurisdictions attended and which didn't. So if I have some extra outreach, it'll be a shortcut for me. So please provide me with your jurisdiction in the chat box. All right, checking in on these projects. In the past, when we had 8 projects, it was very easy for Amanda to pick up the phone, call each individual local sponsor and check in and have great conversations. That is going to be very difficult with 84 active projects. So I'm going to implement some new processes to help us keep checked in on these projects, because one of the reasons why we need to be up to date on what's going on is we get questions asked by legislators all the time. Hey, what's going on with this money? Are you being successful with it? Are the projects getting built? And that was really easy to do in the past with 2 years of $10 million. And so that's what we have, 84 active projects. We're going to have to change how we do check-ins. So I've developed 2 different forms in the form of a survey. The questions will be different for those that were awarded in 22 and those that are going to be receiving the 23 funds. But I'll send those links out to the local sponsors, send a reminder after a week, and then after 2 weeks, whoever hasn't responded to give that project check-in, that's who I'm going to reach out to individually to get project status so we can give positive reports to legislators and others that are asking about the program. So you'll get an emailed link from me, and these are some screenshots of what that form will look like. Very simple. It just prompts, asking what jurisdiction, the contact name, email, and phone number. I think that's one thing that I've realized is, people do change when you have this many projects a lot more often, just going through a larger list. So I do need to keep those contacts up to date. And then simple questions basically on the schedule of your project that normally we would just do in an informal phone call. And then you'll just click submit. It's going to help me out keep track of everything because those responses are going to go into a spreadsheet for me that I'll be able to organize. And then I'll look at your anticipated schedule and do targeted outreach in and around your scheduled bid dates or construction dates. This should take less than 5 minutes to fill out. It'll keep LTAC informed, and I'll be able to make smarter phone calls than cold calling around the state. So our project timeline, we've got 2 different timelines, whether you received 2022 funding or 2023 funding. I'll go through 22 as a reminder. So this upcoming July, those mid-project reviews are due. The updated mid-project review forms are on the LTAC Children Pedestrian Safety website. September 1st, that's going to be the due date for any of those construction contingency funds. The reason for that September 1st date is any unspent funds are going to a new application cycle. And that September council meeting is when we present those applications to LTAC council, and that will include the amount available. So that we'll need to cut that off that date so we can put that into a staff report. And then the December 8th project closeout forms are due December 8th, 2023. So for the 23s, your schedule, I'm going to email out today or tomorrow that project readiness form. I call it a project status form for the 22s. And then the agreements will follow shortly. I'm going to send those out in separate emails just so, however different people organize, they can understand they're 2 different tasks. I don't want the agreement task and the project readiness form to be mixed up. All the local sponsors should have that agreement sent to LTAC by June 15th. If you're not getting that to us basically within a month, you're going to be behind in getting your project out this year. Same date, September 1st, 2023, for all those construction contingency funds. Then the mid-project reviews will be due October 13th. That date will be in your agreement. And then we'll be having January 19th as a project closeout due. And at this point, I'll take any questions on the schedules for the either funding year.
This is Brian Quayle. I do have a question in regards to the 2022 funding on the September 1st. If we have bids that are, I'll say, more recent that we were planning on trying to move forward with, if we can get some contingency funds, and we use those, then we've already completed that September 1st requirement. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Brent, so those funds are available until September 1st. So if you go to bid after that, there's no construction contingency funds available because that money is rolling over into a future application cycle.
Okay, I misunderstood that. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on the schedules? Okay, moving on. So a couple program reminders. Before you go to construction on your project, please do not forget to take before pictures. And then when you're done taking after pictures, and I'll have some examples of some good and bad before and after pictures, but those before pictures and the after pictures are what we use to as part of the project closeout. So remember, eligible expenses, again, for paying for materials, hiring contractors, ineligible expenses, agency salaries and equipment fees, and then design and engineering fees are ineligible with that funding. So some good before and after pictures. You have a project example here where the picture's in the same location, same angle, similar conditions, very easy to see what happened. And then I have a project where the before and after pictures are taken on opposite sides of the street. So it's a little bit harder to determine, that this was the same location. So, opposite angles or different locations, those are, please don't provide that. A special request, but not required, is if you can label your pictures or with a file name, maybe say the location and the direction and label before and after. That's a request, but not required. So in summary, those 22 unfunded applications, you're getting funded. We'll send a project agreement as soon as the Idaho Transportation Board reviews. And that schedule is for construction this year. And we'll be able to get information on your readiness with that form that I send out. Construction contingency funds, I mean, that's first come, first serve, simple documentation, real simple agreement addendum. My thought is hopefully we can get anyone their funds in less than 2 weeks, so that you can accept bids and move on. Changing the project check-in process, and that program timeline, we are looking for construction, as many of these projects, especially the unfunded ones being funded to be constructed this season, for positive reporting on the program. That success of this program is very important for the legislators when they are looking to put additional funds in this program with surplus funds in the future. September 1st is the deadline for everyone for those construction contingency funds. And my contact information, the LTAC office numbers there, my cell and my email, and I'll open it up to any last questions. Please don't forget to put your jurisdiction in the chat as well.
This is David Waldron with the city of Burley. We got our project out, bid, it's actually under construction. We found some soft spots where the sidewalk was supposed to go. Have a change order request in. Would that be eligible for those that $50,000 funds? It's not changing the overall scope, just adding for the soft spots.
So that's something we did not take to council, or for change orders and items like that. What I would suggest is you get that information into us. We will have a June council meeting where I would be providing an update. If we had information to present to the council, we could do that as staff, saying, hey, this is how things are going. These are the things we're finding out, and present that information. But there is no authority from the LTAC council to award those funds, but it does not hurt for us to have that information.
Roger that. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Hi, this is Melinda from the city of Lewiston. And are the FY23 funds available for us to be applying for right now?
Not for application right now. So how that will work is any of the unspent funds as of September 1st will roll into a new application cycle. So at the September LTAC council meeting, the amount of funds available and the application would be presented at that meeting.
Perfect, thank you.
Hi, this is Margaret with Keller Associates. And did I miss when those applications are going to come out that we need to apply for?
So that'll be with our regular kind of application period, and being sent out in October with all the other LTAC applications, and we'll do the outreach for that application cycle with all the other open applications in October.
Oh, okay, I wasn't clear then. We're going after the contingency money. Do we just need to submit? We have a project.
Yep.
We're funded 2022. Do we need to go ahead? Is there an actual form we need to submit, or we just need to do what you said earlier?
Yeah,
I think I missed something.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I had a screenshot of the Children Pedestrian Safety website, and there is a link there where it says agreement addendum for high bids. And so that's the form, and it's got the first page on that actually has the instructions on how to process that agreement addendum.
Okay, thanks so much. I must have blipped out on that one.
Any other questions? If not, thanks everyone for their time. I hope that this, giving this information out to the group as a whole, I'll save the recording and that will get posted to the LTAC website if you need to go back. The presentation will be posted as well. And I'll make those couple updates for clarity on our forms. That those forms for the construction kit are available now. We won't finalize those for another week and a half because we do need the Idaho Transportation Board to review the procedures approved by the LTAC Council. And as soon as that happens, the agreements are coming out, and all those things will be ready. The project status survey for the 22s will come out today or tomorrow, and then the project readiness form for the unfunded, for the 23 money will also come out today or tomorrow. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for their time. I'll stop the share and then I'll stop the recording